Surprise! Good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Wilson with Link Strategies, and today I'm subbing in for CORY Morgan. So buckle up, buttercups. Oh, John, we just got, hang on. We've got a teleprompter issue here. Buckle up, buttercups, and get ready to sound off in the comment section with all your questions, and we will do our best to answer them. So let's start right here at home, as in Alberta, because once again, this province is making national news, whether Ottawa likes it or not. Oh, Alberta. What would Canada ever do without you? And will they ever have to seriously ask themselves that question? Whether or not you like it, we've got a provincial government that is very clearly not interested in asking permission before they choose to govern. And they want this province to have more say over how their tax dollars are spent. Alberta remains open for business, stubbornly optimistic, and occasionally allergic to consensus for consensus's sake. So that brings us to the topic, lighting up coffee shops, community halls, group chats, and Facebook and Instagram feeds across the province this month. Alberta separation. I'm talking about the Stay Free Alberta petition, which is now officially underway. And the referendum question is quite blunt. Do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state? No legalese, no hedging, just a straight up choose your own adventure moment for Albertans. Here's the mechanics. Registered canvassers have 120 days until May 2nd to collect some 177,000 signatures, which represents about 10% of the eligible voting population. If they succeed, it triggers a presumed fall referendum where Albertans can actually cast a ballot. Now, this timeline is subject to change, but for the sake of conversation, let's keep it there. By contrast, the Forever Canadian petition garnered over 400,000 verified signatures to support asking the question, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada in a potential future referendum? It's an impressive turnout for sure. This was headed up by Thomas Lekuzak, the former long-term PC MLA, who finds themselves at odds with the current UCP government. This movement takes the stance that Alberta should stay in a united Canada. But a lot of Albertans don't feel like the rest of this country has their backs. And this is where it's worth slowing down, because a lot of people are already skipping this step. Signing the petition is not the same as voting for separation. Signing the petition is about triggering the question and not answering it. Signing the petition means you want to see democracy in action and you want Albertans to have the opportunity to cast their official vote on whether or not Alberta should separate. Now, early reports from both social and traditional media show long lineups, well-organized canvassing teams, and a coordinated effort by a broad mix of grassroots groups and recognizable personalities, including the regular host of this show, CORY Morgan. Whether you're cheering or cringing, it's hard to ignore this movement is organized. Now, if I were a betting woman, and I assure you I am, I would say that they'll surpass the minimum signature requirement by a mile. Now, will the various groups and the big personalities behind this movement be able to unify? That's another question entirely. The historical problem of conservatives not playing nicely in the sandbox rarely takes a day off, so time will tell. But if there's one thing that is already clear in these early days, it's this. A lot of Albertans are fed up. They want a better deal, economically, politically, structurally, and they're tired of bureaucrats in Ottawa who always seem to be on the take with very little in return. Senate reform, electoral reform, possibly pension reform. According to many, all these are long overdue, all talked about endlessly, and all somehow perpetually parked in the we'll get to it later pile. So even for Albertans who have no appetite for separation whatsoever, this petition raises a legitimate question. Could this finally deliver a message to Ottawa where every other attempt has truly failed? Or on the flip side, is it too divisive of an issue for the Smith government when it comes to election time? These are early days and no one knows how this ends. But here's my one takeaway, and it's an important one. Be mindful of labels. It's a common tactic for media, politicians, and keyboard warriors to pit people against one another. Our increasingly vitriolic culture is very quick to flatten complex motivations into very convenient insults. And it wasn't that long ago, during the pandemic, that neighbors were being pitted against neighbors in ways that permanently changed relationships, families, and communities. So be nice to each other out there. If you have a friend or a coworker or a family member who signed either the Forever Canadian petition or the Stay Free Alberta petition, understand that their decisions likely come from a whole host of factors. It's probably not fair or accurate to assume their signature neatly maps onto a political party, ideology, or worldview. I will tell you this. I've been personally very surprised by some of the people I know who have signed these petitions. Life is complicated and politics is messy. People don't fit neatly into boxes that we build for them. So no, moving on. Today's show takes a sharp turn from big constitutional questions to something far more personal and far more volatile. Well, I think. A Facebook Marketplace post turned into political weaponry. My first guest today is a well-known Calgary political commentator and the woman behind the Madam Premier brand, Sarah Elder. Many of you will recognize Sarah from her podcasts, her writing, and most recently her run for mayor in Calgary's 2025 civic election. For years through Madam Premier, Sarah has advocated through a multi-partisan lens for getting more women into political spaces. As she turns a page, Sarah is now in the final days of closing her physical storefront at 1012 9th Avenue Southeast and transitioning Madam Premier to an online-only model. Like many of us would, she posted some of her store furniture for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And what started as a garage sale gone wrong quickly escalated into a highly charged, confrontational incident that took place inside her store, one that has since exploded across social media. A woman has alleged that Sarah kicked her out of her store because she was wearing a hijab, the traditional headscarf worn by Muslim women. Following this interaction, the woman posted a video filmed outside of Sarah's store, and since then, Sarah has faced a torrent of online attacks, accusing her of being racist, Islamophobic, a Zionist, and unworthy of public office. Now, I got to know Sarah a little bit on the civic campaign trail, so I'll be honest, I was very surprised. My experiences with Sarah Elder have consistently reflected somebody who's socially progressive and fiscally conservative, or what many would simply just call a centrist. I have seen no evidence ever of racism tied to Sarah or the Madam Premier brand, and in fact, I've seen quite the opposite. So after speaking with Sarah directly and reviewing her public explanations that she's posted on social media, it became clear to me that this story deserved context, nuance, and quite frankly, her voice. So today, Sarah joins us to share her side of what happened, how quickly situations can spiral in the age of social media, and what it's like to find yourself at the center of an online firestorm. Sarah, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Oh my goodness. So give us in a nutshell, what happened?
Okay.
Yes.
So, as you summarized, I'm in the process of closing down my physical storefront in Inglewood and had listed some store furniture for sale on Facebook Marketplace as myself, as an individual, and have received a lot of responses. Anyone who's ever posted something for sale will receive, depending on the price and what it is, you can receive maybe one response or dozens. And I have received hundreds of responses. And so I created like a standard response. So I just said, you can come at this day and time during these hours and you can see what I have. Take it or that's the approach.
First come, first serve.
First come, first serve. I'm a busy mom. I don't live perpetually online. And so there was someone who had reached out. I had provided this. So we had this wildly uncomfortable and difficult encounter where in the midst of, after entering the store, she spent a few minutes there. And then while she was in the store in front of me, she confirmed my identity. So asked me, are you Sarah Elder? And are you running for mayor? Either running or ran, whatever grammatical context you want to past or present or future. And I said yes. But my spidey senses were immediately going off because I don't think that's a normal kind of interaction. Mm-hmm. So to confirm my identity, and so went on, the item that she had been interested in wasn't actually what she thought. It wasn't a desk or a counter. It was like a small, low table, more like a coffee table. Anyways, she was frustrated from the moment she entered the store, on top of the fact that, she was asking me these questions. And I had already started texting my husband saying, I think there's something happening here. Mm-hmm. This doesn't seem right. And
because she was very anxious, right? Pacing around your store.
It was very aggressive. And she said, after she had confirmed my identity, she had said, you're very rude. This must be why your store is closing. And you will never win in an election.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't say anything in this interaction because if someone says that to you, you can tell when someone is kind of looking for something, right?
Yes.
They're looking for a response. fast forward again. She looks at the thing. It's not what it is. She thought it was. She turns to me and she says again, "You're very rude." And you'll again, this is why your business is closing, and I'm not going to be buying anything. As she starts to leave, she's going out through the door, and I just said, "Have a nice day." Right? Was it a little bit, was it sarcastic? Right? Yes, I absolutely admit to that.
I don't know who would be friendly at that point. But
well,
yeah.
Right? Like, it's hard to
sarcasm's okay at that point.
It's hard to right, but I honestly just wanted this random encounter to be over. It was far from over, Lindsay. Far from over. So she circles back and starts engaging, confronting me. And at this point I had already realized, I think, that something was going on. So I had actually decided to film her at this point. So she's out on the sidewalk. I'm at the door. And then it was then that she alleges that I was being racist against her, Islamophobic, actually, because she is a woman of color wearing a hijab. And my response immediately was, this is absolutely insane, because little do you know, and this is the thing, you just don't know, right? The spoiler is that I'm actually a dual citizen of Iran. I am both Canadian and Iranian through my marriage to my husband, who was born in Iran. And I myself have been a woman who has worn a hijab in Iran, which, I mean, especially in the current political climate and context of what's happening in Iran, takes on a whole other meaning. But I would never actively or even passively, I would never participate in the discrimination against someone that would actually end up, I would be perpetuating the discrimination against my own husband and family.
Yeah, you and your husband have 2 children.
Yeah, I don't wish this upon anyone. But it was, she clearly, there was intent. It was very odd. And so she started recording herself. And
the recording was very aggressive. And I will tell the Western Standard listeners, I went and I watched the video that's really gone wild online that this woman posted. And it was very aggressive. It was saying that you said a very profane word, which, Sarah, I don't even know if I've heard you swear in all my conversations with you, which I thought,
I mean, I do like a good F word, to be honest.
That's fine. This was more extensive than that you said that. And it just lacked a lot of context. It was a really bizarre video. And then, of course, the social media warriors are going nuts in the comments. So I think so that happened. Yeah. But I mean, I know for you it's personal because not only are you a dual citizen with Iran,
well, yeah,
but it's completely counter to everything you've done through Madam Premier.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who actively, advocates for the participation of all women from a multi-partisan standpoint, and what's actually been really inconvenient throughout my time of having the store and always has been actually that it's been people more on the center left who have always wanted me to advocate specifically for what you would call progressive women in politics. And my response has always been, I'm multi-partisan. I believe that every woman, no matter if I agree with them or not, has a place to be in politics. That's for people to decide at the ballot box. It is not about left or right or center, polka dot or whatever it is. That's for voters to decide. I just want more women to step forward and put themselves into the political realm. This is honestly a very cautionary tale, I think, in a lot of different ways. First of all, that an allegation you can have, the most innocuous interaction with someone. And let's just say there were you're disappointed, this whole, exacerbated by the fact that you're actually actively Googling me, right? And weaponizing my identity in different ways, both being political and having a store, right? It's just so this could happen to anyone. And I think that where we've gotten to as a society is that it's actually, the rife of, cancel culture. It's actually easier for this to be perpetuated by people who see this as like a transactional, right? Whatever it is, social media clout, whatever narrative it is that they want to put out there. And that that explodes. On the other side, very understandably, people don't want to weigh in and say like, this is unacceptable, because they themselves become a target. So like I've cautioned friends, for example, or honestly, I just wanted this to go away. Like the police have been involved in this. Like I honestly felt like my personal safety was at risk because of the intensity of the situation and the way it escalated.
And you faced a lot of comments.
Yeah.
And your business as well.
Yeah.
Right? You're getting probably bizarre Google reviews and all sorts of weird
I mean,
things.
as of Sunday night, they sent me a notification saying that I'd gotten 85 one-star reviews. And people were actually commenting on Facebook. They were monitoring. They wanted to see that decrease. So the piling on, the community that was created in the attacks and attempted takedown and allegations of racism and Islamophobia against me became, just absolutely insane. Everything from comments on my physical appearance to weaponizing like my positions on the attack, the massacre that happened against Jewish Australians, labeling me a Zionist, which I actually am. I am a proud Zionist. And I am a defiant supporter of Israel. But like, that's what this.
But you can support Israel and not be Islamophobic, right?
I think so.
Those two things can actually exist.
Well, as someone who really tries to, challenge people to be able to hold multiple truths, whether, and very complicated ones, this is really frustrating and disappointing. And it's been very difficult personally, both on me, my friends, and my family, but also in thinking about, there have been people in the comments of this individual. And I just wanted to say, I was going to start by saying, I don't want anyone to go and find this individual online and target them in any way. I do not want what has happened to me to happen to anyone else, including her, even though I've been incredibly challenged and hurt by the situation. I don't want anyone to do that. I wish this upon no one, including her. And so, it's just, where are we as a society, as a culture, when it's easier, because the advice, that many have told me is like, just wait for this to blow over. So we're going to accept cancel culture. We're going to accept that you can just label someone racist or Islamophobic. Like I do plan on continuing, hopefully, my political career. How can I let this stand, Lindsay?
You can. And that's the thing is a lot of people would just ignore this. And we've gotten into that as a society. But I like to think we're on what I call the back end of the cancel culture era. I think it peaked, I don't know, probably roughly about 3 or 4 years ago. And it got so ridiculous. People are getting canceled for things they never did, for very loose.
Well, everything is a microaggression.
Absolutely.
Right. And I consider this a coming out party politically, because I had really hoped for the store to like wind down before, I was going to, take a different track in terms of speaking out on different issues, where I was going to be asking people to, to really hold themselves open to the possibility of holding more uncomfortable truths, those dueling two or multiple truths. This has forced my hand in a way that I did not anticipate and did not want. But there are some uncomfortable conversations that I think we need to have as a society, especially in the face of, of a decade-long Trudeau government that really kind of embraced this. And I'll say, I did too, in different ways. How naive was I? I thought that we were going to end up in a better place than where we started, and we're not. So I think this is about respect for people you live alongside, whether you agree with them or not. You can have a bad interaction with someone. We can have a falling out at some point, but that wouldn't, that doesn't need to result in the canceling of anyone or the labeling of them as anything. But values, respect, how do you live beside people? How are you showing up in the world? what are you saying when the first thing that you go to is racism and Islamophobia?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, you're brave, Sarah. Not everybody is going to come on a show like this and talk about this. And I think, I think that you are very brave for doing this. And I think you have to set the tone, right? This is obviously going to chart things in a new course for you politically, right? Because this is, I mean, would you say that this is the most crushing situation that you've been, like, you ran for mayor?
No,
okay?
actually,
You've done a lot of
surprisingly
things.
not. Surprisingly not. You
Oh, dear.
would be shocked, because I think in the context of being a public person in social media, whether political or as a small business, you don't want to talk about bad things. Like, you, even since yesterday, I actually, I made a post that says, like, the inconvenient truth of labeling me as Islamophobic is actually, so I put together a little compilation of me wearing actually a headscarf, right? Just to say, like, this is not accurate in any way. I've already lost hundreds of followers.
Wow.
Since yesterday when I made that post.
Wow.
So, and it's because I'm saying I'm, not, I call out like all of it. It's just all of it. So the approach from business and politics is, like, you don't talk about any of this. You don't say anything because you're always risking a lot. If it's not money, it's reputation or brand, all of these different things. How do we, like, it's enough. It's enough. We have to, we've like gotten into the world upside down times in terms of the world.
And it ruins people's lives. It ruins people's livelihoods. I think that's a really important thing. Like, people have to remember that you are a mother, you are a wife, you're a business owner, you're a human being.
Yeah.
And sensationalizing something for personal gain, I presume. I don't know what this woman's motivations would be. I don't know if somebody else put her up to it. I mean, the whole thing is so bizarre. It's so constructed and contrived.
It's become it's been championed by people who within her community who have views that that I absolutely fundamentally disagree with. But it's become like it's a culture of either you agree with me or, like, I'll cancel you too. I mean, I'll share this. And there's public record of this, because I was actually targeted by a neo-Nazi several years ago, who left white supremacist literature on the door of my store. And, so, like, am I too woke? Am I too not? Like, what am I, like, it's, I guess if I'm making everyone unhappy, is that the sweet spot? I don't know, right? In the same way that, we're in such a quick world of wanting to label someone like liberal or conservative or whatever it is.
We've become so obsessed with labels in our society. And, in the opening monologue, when I was talking about Alberta independence, I'm very surprised by some of the people who I know who've signed either petition, truly. And we assume that people who maybe signed the Forever Canadian petition are very left-wing. I know some serious conservatives who signed that petition.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I know people that are really surprised that are getting on board with the separation movement, people who are fed up, who I would never have thought were separatists, or conversations with them a year ago at a political level, they weren't interested at all in separation. But it's a quickly evolving issue. So people can be
very
different things
nuanced,
at the same time.
100%. Again, you're having space for holding those multiple truths. And that also there's so much behind how anyone appears, right? That we are all very complex people, multifaceted, multicultural, if that, that's like a whole other thing. But we're just nothing, if we operate from a place of, from grace, honestly, in giving people that. But then also, not jumping to labeling one another, not jumping to, I'm going to cancel you because I'm pissed off about whatever. It's a race to the bottom. Is that how fast do we want to get there?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, sir, any parting words for the folks listening today? I'm really grateful that you were able to come on the show and to share this, because you deserve to tell your story. And in all the time I have known you and getting to know you on the campaign trail and learning, your very grassroots motivation for running to be Calgary's mayor, and you were brave when you did that. And I think you won over a lot of hearts and minds. And I think a lot of people would just never believe this story about you. And I think, to be mindful that the people who are sounding off on, say, this woman's posts or other posts that come out of it online, they don't know you. They don't understand that this is so far-fetched for you to be a racist or anything like that. But like, there are consequences to our actions, people. We teach our children this, and we need to live by this as adults. When you're cruel and malicious to people online, there's consequences to that. And sometimes people are brave, like Sarah Elder, and they're going to go on to public platforms and they're going to share the truth of what happened. And I choose to believe Sarah, and I think most of us, knowing you, would believe your side of the story.
And I've gotten multi-partisan support from people, because how can you build a business based on the multi-partisan participation of all women in political spaces, right? Like going very intentionally creating and holding space for diversity, for divergent views. Why would I do that with 1 week to go? Why would I, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Nothing about her video made sense. Nothing about
it. And also, can we just not like Google someone in front of them and then confirm their identity? Like that to me.
Even her phrasing was that this woman's running for mayor.
Yes, and
if you knew anything politically, you would know that the election was done.
Well over. Although, wouldn't you love a redo?
In many ways, I would. Or would I?
Yeah, maybe not. Depends on the day and the
provincials
moment.
Next year's.
Right. So like, but I think this warrants a larger conversation in terms of where we have gotten, how we have allowed this to happen. And I think we're at a really critical time in terms of like our province and our country, in terms of, having some tougher conversations around who we are as Canadians and Albertans. And I'm going to be frank. I don't want Alberta or Canada to be a place where you can just throw around accusations like you're racist, you're Islamophobic. That is absolutely unacceptable. Whatever the label is, no, this is not something that we want to contribute to. This is not a part of our identity. This is not a part of how we manage our community. This is not how we live with one another. And it is unacceptable. But I just want to say one last thing. Again, I don't want anyone to reach out to this woman. I don't want this to happen to her in the same way that this has happened to me. So, go take a look, but please don't engage with the content. That also helps the algorithm and the social media companies because it spreads it wider. But please don't comment or target her in any way.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sarah Elder. So, and Madam Premier lives on. This is a great brand. If you've never checked out Madam Premier, it's madampremier.ca
or com.
Yeah, or .com.
Whatever.
Both. Yeah. Whatever you're feeling like that day. Anyhow, and then your store's open until January 24th. Is that right?
Well, yeah. So Saturday or Sunday is supposed to be the last day.
Okay. 1012 9th Avenue Southeast.
Yes, right.
She's got some great deals to clear out stuff. Let's help Sarah not schlep boxes, okay? She's got a lot of things to do. Let's let her get rid of her inventory and get rid of her stock. And then you're online, so people to continue.
Yes, and continue to hold space for, hard things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you. Yeah, thanks so much. All right. Well, we're going to get into our next segment. We're shifting to an issue that's happening right here in Calgary. Not somewhere else, it's not behind closed doors. It's in our own communities. It's human trafficking and prostitution. Joining me today are two incredible women. They're working on the front lines to change lives. The organization is called Her Victory. So please go to hervictory.ca. Check them out right now. It's a really cool website and it lays out everything that they do. Her Victory operates out of Forest Lawn. It's one of Calgary's last known prostitution stores. Comprehensive, hands-on approach to women impacted by sexual exploitation, addiction, and trafficking. Their work spans prison outreach, pregnancy care, housing, food hampers, street strolls, strip club outreach, massage parlor outreach, you name it. And the reality is staggering. There are more than 3,000 individuals currently working in the sex industry in Calgary. According to Her Victory, the stats here, 96% of trafficking victims in Canada are female, 71% under the age of 25. 91% know their trafficker, and 93% are Canadian citizens. Now, this isn't smuggling. This isn't something happening somewhere else. This isn't a Hollywood movie. It's right here. It's right down the road from you. Just last week, one of Canada's top women's charity golf tournaments, the Peanut Butter Classic, announced Her Victory is its top charitable recipient for their June 8th annual tournament. Now, Heather will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is their 23rd or 24th year. It's been held right here in Calgary, and each year registration fills up just in minutes, and a number of charitable endeavors benefit from the hardworking women that are behind the Peanut Butter Classic. Last year, these ladies raised $326,000 in a day. That is remarkable. Multiple charitable endeavors benefited, but each year the gals select one of the benefiting charities to be the star of the show. And this year it is Her Victory. So joining me are Jackie Meyer, founder and executive director of Her Victory, and the Honorable Heather Forsyth, founder of the Peanut Butter Classic and a former long-time Calgary MLA. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days. Goodness knows you're both very busy women who've done a lot of things. So I appreciate this. So let's start out here. We'll go over to you, Heather. Why was it Her Victory? Why did it come down to Her Victory? Of all the charities that Peanut Butter Classic supports every year, why Her Victory?
Well, I think for us was we support Not in My City, which is run by Paul Brandt. And I have spent probably the majority of my life in this issue, which I call the dark side, on child prostitution, sexual exploitation, human trafficking. So we reached out to Jackie, and Jackie presented before my board about what her organization does. And my board, as I said to Jackie, was quite taken. And as Jackie went on some of the things they were doing, their eyes just got bigger and bigger and bigger on all the things that she is doing to try and deal with trafficking. So we had a board decision and unanimously decided to support Jackie at Her Victory. We gave her $50,000 already and have helped her with other things. And we're very excited having her with us this year.
Oh, that's tremendous. And Jackie, thank you. Welcome to the show. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Her Victory and where it all started from? Because you're the girl behind this charity.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay, for having me. Her Victory. So we empower and reach those that are caught in the sex trade, exploited, at risk of, or currently being trafficked. We started, as you mentioned, right here in the city of Calgary. We do have an outreach center that's located right on one of Calgary's last very active prostitution strolls. And, our heart was just to serve and advocate and provide practical needs for these women. And it's just expanded as the problem, if you know, is human trafficking. It's a multi-billion dollar industry worldwide. And it's one of the fastest growing crimes in the world. And Calgary is no exception to that. And, when I say caught in the sex trade, it's absolutely not what I would call a trade. That's inaccurate as it can be. There is no fair trade that occurs with these individuals. Their spirits are shattered, their hearts are torn, their bodies are abused. And it takes everything from these girls and gives nothing back. And so we just saw a need in the city and jumped right in. And so we are in the local women's prisons, meeting with women that are incarcerated that have faced trafficking or some form of exploitation. We do have a safe home here in the city of Calgary for women that are fleeing trafficking. And that's all across our province, our nation, cross-border. And we do have teams that go in, the illegal massage parlors, like I mentioned, the local prisons. We are working this year to get in the strip clubs. And as well, just, reaching these women at our outreach location where they're at, but not leaving them there.
I see. Now, how important is the wraparound care? I think what really struck me about your organization is a lot of organizations I find in charitable sector, they're very hyper-focused on one thing, and that may very well be a good thing. But what I loved about this is I went to hervictory.ca and you do it all. You really do it all. You're really like this hub for all the help and support. It's like the whole, it's like addiction treatment. You don't just take somebody off the streets. get them sober and then say, hey, have a nice day, right? That's you have to re-educate them. They need therapy, they need housing supports, they need job training, they need the whole thing. So when you make that initial contact from women, when they say, I need help, I want out of this life, or however that interaction is with your team, you talk a lot on the website, and maybe you can just add a little bit to that. How many of these are these really long-term relationship where you are actually in these women's lives for not just months, but potentially years?
Yeah, that's correct. Women exiting situations or caught in these situations, they have the most barriers to success of any population. And psychologists will tell you that it's their level of trauma is like a soldier returning from war. And so we really we're all about the trusting relationship. And for most women, this is years and years and years. We've had women come in our doors that are ready today, even just to choose sobriety, which is success. And then we've had women where we've had to do backdoor escapes, and they're ready to get into our safe house. And we do provide wraparound support. So that includes right from your practical needs. The first thing I did was raise money for a shower, because as much as the shelters are doing everything that they can, they're not sometimes the most safe place. And so we wanted a safe space for women where they could shower, they could get clothing, they could get, winter coats, boots, hygiene packs, the necessities when they're leaving prison. Usually it's with the shirt on their back. And then we have social workers, caseworkers, and a plethora of volunteers to meet them where they are at when they walk through our doors. And, we know their journeys. We know these women's stories from beginning to end. And even as they leave our housing program, we continue to provide them with community supports and with everything. Sorry, that's not on my end. That they need just in what stage they're at. Now, our staff we provide fully trauma-informed support. We do have a crisis trauma counselor that is specific to exploitation that walk with these women on a weekly basis. And we just, like I said, we meet, every story is different. Every circumstance is different. I explain it as we almost feel like we work in the ER. We never know what's going to walk in our doors. We can see up to 40 to 50 women, like I said, that are either currently in the sex trade exploited, or some don't even realize that they're being trafficked, and we're able to support them moving forward where they're at and where they're ready. We're all about choices here. It's where they want to go, and we'll support them through that walk.
Wow, that's so powerful. I think I'm really hanging on to these stats that there's over 3,000 people at any time, mostly women, of course, working in right here just in Calgary, let alone Alberta, let alone the rest of the country, in the sex trade. And that these are young girls. These are young girls. These are girls who are under 25, most of them. I think my oldest daughter is 16. And I just think that's crazy to think of somebody her age caught up in this life and this addiction. Heather, I want to go over to you because Heather, Heather Forsyth, you were an MLA for many, many years, and you were in the Ministry of Children and Family Services, and you are on a provincial committee around this. You work with Paul Brandt and his organization, now Her Victory. Like, you have a powerful wheelhouse of information and experience on this. And so Jackie says this problem is rising. It's increasing. Should we be surprised by that, Heather, or did you see this coming for the last 20 years?
Oh, it's been coming. I just want to make one comment on what Jackie said. I think it's important that 1 in 5 women that are trafficked are under the age of 17. And we saw a good example of that in the charges recently that were laid in Lethbridge. Our kids are very, very vulnerable, and they're very vulnerable in many aspects on social media, etc. The traffickers know if they're vulnerable. They know where to meet them on shopping malls, around the schools. So I think parents have to start waking up to what social media their children are on. But yes, it's $150 billion annually globally, and each victim is around $280,000 a year. Our traffickers, our organized crime, are actually making more money on those that they are trafficking than they are on drugs. And they can move the girls and guys very quickly across the country, as Jackie will know. So I guess I've been doing this since the early 90s and was on the streets with street teams before I got elected. I think people are finally starting to understand what's happening. And in my estimation, Jackie, maybe you can add, they're starting to care a lot more now.
Jackie, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to say, I would say, Paul Brandt is such a great advocate, especially at the political level and raising awareness. But I think it's important to note that he is highly connected with those of us that are on the ground at the community level that are seeing actually what's happening. And I'm glad you brought up that new case out of Brooks and, out of Lethbridge. We're supporting 4 women with the Richard Mantha case. And also to speak to Lindsay, your stat, the average age of an individual being trafficked is between age 12 and 14 years old. And I too am a mother of 2 teenage daughters, and this is an incredibly scary stat. They not only are traffickers, obviously grooming and recruiting the vulnerability of individuals who unhoused, addictions, no supportive family or community, but they're going online. And I don't want to give them a lot of credit, but they're really, really good at what they're doing. And they have these grooming tactics. I will throw out recently here in the city of Calgary at one of the malls, they were using an older woman pushing a baby in a stroll to recruit girls that were in the mall setting, because they know a female generally will trust a mother female figure. And so is this issue growing? Yes, it's a dark underbelly of our city. We are really great partners with Calgary City Police, their frontline teams, their alert department, and the sexual exploitation unit. Just being, we're here to support and advocate for these women, but it's also a very dangerous sector to be in.
And really, I think, it's cultural, right? We have to come around to it. I was sifting around through your website, and as well as Not in My City's website. Not in My City's collecting signatures right now. And Heather, I'm going to go to you to comment on this, for, joining the fight for stronger protections against child sexual exploitation. So there was that recent fall decision by the Supreme Court. It was a narrow 5-4 decision to strike down the mandatory minimum 1-year jail sentences for possessing and accessing child sexual abuse material. I mean, explain it to me like I'm 5, why this is a thing. I really struggle to understand why we wouldn't want to have mandatory minimums for that. I mean, the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. So Heather, do you have anything to say on that Supreme Court decision and not having these mandatory minimums for I think it's crazy. It's just crazy to me.
I can't second guess what the Liberals are thinking federally. I mean, I think we have to call what it is. It's pornography. And we have those who are watching pornography think it's cool to watch a baby getting raped or getting off on a young child. And how you would think it's okay for 1 year. We have victims, and people need to remember that about the victims here and the lasting impressions that is left from the abuse that these kids and younger children are going through. It seems to be in the federal government's mind, it's okay. And I would suggest that if it was their child or some other child that's close to them, whether it's a niece or a nephew, if they would still think it's okay.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I have 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters, and I have big conversations with my 16-year-old because I think you have to in this day and age. And I always tell her, it takes 5 minutes alone in a room with the wrong guy or girl, but typically man, to change the course of your life for the rest of your life. And I have had friends close to me who underwent sexual abuse, and it changed them forever. They're never the same. You don't get over it. You get around it. You work your way through it, hopefully. But it's unbelievable. It's devastating. It rips families apart. It destroys lives. So there's a comment here, I think, Jackie. Who are the traffickers? This is just in our super chat. So our super chats are open. So sound off on here as we have, I think, just a few more minutes left on the show. But Jordan here asks, who are the traffickers? Who are the women? Who are the clients? Jackie, do you want to just address that a little bit?
Sure. So the traffickers, this can range. It's very highly organized crime. And so you've got some very, we'll call them high-end gangs prolific gangs. But you also have organizations within corporations, believe it or not. We have seen people that are, in political spheres. We have seen lawyers, we have seen doctors, we have seen, we let the police deal with it at that level, but we're also dealing with a lot of pimps and johns. And, it used to be, it would be the guy with the gold teeth. He's got, the pit bull in the back of his truck, but this is anyone, it can be any walk of life. So we have had, pimps that obviously, float in the low income circles, but we've also got people that, men from middle class. We've got professionals. It's really not as cookie cutter as you might think. But as far as trafficking goes, you've definitely got, I would say it's people involved in the gang life. But again, there can be high-end professionals that are involved as well.
I think there's a little bit of this assumption that maybe most of these women have been illegally brought into this country, but then your stats show quite the other side of that it's 93% are actually Canadian citizens. Is that right?
Yes, 93% of people that are trafficked in Canada are Canadian citizens. And that is one of the biggest, I know we used to hear from police, even Paul Brandt will tell you 10 years ago, he was going to police and they were like, trafficking isn't happening here. It is happening in our country. Calgary is actually one of, because with the international airport, we are a hub as well. It's active and well. There is a circuit, they call it a circuit throughout the province where they are moving women very, very quickly. So it's highly organized, it's highly funded. And like Heather mentioned, on average, I think, a trafficker can make $280,000 a year on one individual. They're commodities. It's not like a drug that's sold and that's done. They can sell them over and over again. And I just want to mention, Lindsay, I think it's important that with exploitation and exploitation and this kind of trauma, it often puts lies about their worth. It blames, it goes right to their identity. It's my fault. My body's not mine. Value is only what I give them. I'm damaged goods. So when you talk about the lifetime of, healing through this, what these people are doing to these poor victims, it's, we're dealing with that right on a frontline level. So it is an issue in Calgary. And to just circle back to your question, there is obviously, I would say majority is within the gang life, but it's very organized crime.
Well, just a comment, if I may,
yes.
Lindsay. One of the things I've always found fascinating through all the years that I've done this is people always seem to think it's not their kid. And it can be their kid, and it is somebody's kid. And no child or adult, for that matter, are safe, quite frankly. And the younger the kid, the more we're feeding the pedophiles. So I think people really need to start being very conscientious about what's going on in this province and this country, quite frankly.
Yeah, there's you've got to take the blinders off, right? I mean, it's just because it's not necessarily happening to your family doesn't mean that it can't, right? And again, 5 minutes interaction your child has with a stranger could change the whole trajectory of their life. Or not a stranger. I shouldn't even say a stranger. It's oftentimes people that right?
It often is, people that they know. And we work with a lot of, and it's middle-class families that their daughter, they call it boyfriending. Or just, someone gave them a lot of attention, buying them a lot of gifts. It's the whole grooming process. An A student going to high school and all of a sudden they're gone like that.
Remarkable. Heather, tell me just a little bit more, do some plug for the Peanut Butter Classic. Is registration open? When does registration open? Because I think people have like 5 seconds to sign up for this incredible golf tournament.
No, registration isn't open. We're meeting tonight and we're very excited to have you join us, Lindsay. And
I'm very excited.
We will be filling survivor bags, Jackie. Jackie can talk about the survivor bags that are given to the women on the street. We're going to have socks in there, some underwear, some, toothpaste and different things like that. We will, the tournament's June 8th, and probably around the month of May, open the tournament. Right now, we're after our donors and sponsors. So if anybody's interested, www.peanutbutterclassic.com. And you're changing a lot of people's lives by donating not only to Her Victory. We do Dogs with Wings, Not in My City, the veterans, and our firefighters. So would love to have your support.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, thank you again, Jackie Meyer with Her Victory and the Honorable Heather Forsyth with the Peanut Butter Classic. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be involved with peanut butter this year. And here's hoping for a rain-free and wildly successful tournament this June 8th. Again, you can learn how to volunteer, you can get or donate and get involved at the peanutbutterclassic.com. Learn more about supporting women exiting exploitation at hervictory.ca. And with that, we are going to bring our show to a close. So a huge thank you to our sponsors, to the incredible CORY Morgan for trusting me with his microphone, and to all of you for tuning in. So if you haven't already, please head over to westernstandard.news and grab yourself a subscription. It keeps us accountable, and it gives you full access to all of our reporting, investigations, and commentary. Subscriptions are just $10 a month, or $100 for the full year. And that support goes directly into producing the kind of journalism that you are here to see. And for those of you watching, know that there's always the super chats open on the comments, and to feel free to try and interact with us as we're doing these shows. And we've got a lot of moving parts. But again, thank you so much. Be skeptical, be decent, and try not to torch your neighbors in the comments section. As always, I'm Lindsay Wilson with Link Strategy. It's my honor to host today on behalf of CORY Morgan. You will see him next time. Thanks so much.